When this local teenager walked through the forest on his way to school, he never imagined he would make such a shocking discovery. Near the water's edge of the forest lake, the kid saw a gelatinous substance floating on the surface. At first, he thought it was just Frogspawn. That was until a park ranger inspected it up close. Before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Evan always took the long way to school, slipping quietly through the old forest instead of sticking to the busy main road. He liked the sound of his shoes on the soft ground, the smell of wet leaves, and especially the lake, which always seemed calm and empty so early in the morning. Evan was fascinated by living things and loved his biology classes most of all. He and Mr. Oliver, his teacher, always shared stories about cool discoveries in nature. But what Evan found today at the lake would surprise even Mr. Oliver. It was unlike anything they had ever seen before. What Evan did not know at the time was that this all had a very specific reason, and it had to do with what awaited the young man near the edge of the lake. Evan looked around, trying to figure out what was going on, and that's when he saw something from the corner of his eye. Evan noticed a huge, strange-looking lump near the edge of the water. It looked slimy and soft, like Frogspawn, something he had come across many times before. However, this particular spawn seemed different in some way. It was far bigger than any specimen he had ever seen before. And that wasn't all. Evan crouched down to look closer, curiosity taking over the nervous feeling he had just moments ago. He had never seen frog eggs like these before in his life. The young man reached and carefully slipped his hand through the water's surface and underneath the jelly-like mass. The water was cold, and the supposed frog spawn felt even colder to the touch. The wet, slimy texture slithered through the boy's fingers and landed back into the water below. It seemed to pulse beneath his fingers, which sent a shiver up his spine. "That's not normal," Evan uttered. Evan quickly pulled his hand away and rubbed the slimy access onto his trousers. He sat back, trying to understand what he was touching. The lumps inside the spawn weren't exactly eggs. Instead of the cloudy center he usually saw in Frogspawn, these had a strange metallic shine to them. Evan took out his phone and snapped a few photos, searching online for Frogspawn pictures and trying to find a match. He researched various types of frogs and compared photos taken from different angles and lighting conditions. But nothing he could find appeared even close to what he saw before him. As Evan finished looking at his phone, he caught a sudden splash from the water beside him. He turned just in time to see a shadow dart quickly under the surface, moving directly below the jelly-like mass. It startled him so much that he scrambled to his feet, backing away. The silence around the lake now seemed even heavier, and with the weird spawn and that strange shadow moving through the lake, Evan's unease only grew. He wanted to leave, but he still couldn't shut down his curious nature. Evan reached into his backpack instinctively and pulled out a small net. It was the kind of net that you normally use for removing goldfish when cleaning out their tank. But Evan always had it with him in his backpack, so he could capture interesting creatures and show them to Mr. Oliver, sparking conversation. And today it would provide Evan with a sample of this mysterious spawn. Moving quickly, Evan dipped his net just under the jelly mass, and with his other hand, he opened a plastic container he often used to carry insects. With a careful scoop, he gathered some of the slimy stuff into the container, snapping the lid shut. Evan felt his heart beating fast. "Mr. Oliver needs to see this," Evan said aloud, feeling a bit braver. Mr. Oliver wasn't just his favorite and most knowledgeable teacher. He was also a part-time park ranger. This gave him distinct knowledge of the forests and pastures that surrounded their town. If anyone could figure out what this was, it would be him. Evan placed the container in his backpack, making sure that the top was sealed tightly. After that, he took the shortcut out of the forest so he could make it to the school before the rest of his classmates got there. "He has to see this," Evan whispered to himself, not yet knowing the extent of his discovery. Evan reached the school in record time, barely feeling the weight of his backpack as he hurried through the halls. He arrived at Mr. Oliver's classroom, breathless, and banged urgently on the window set in the middle of the door, calling for his favorite teacher to let him in before the morning bell rang. Mr. Oliver appeared in the doorway, looking puzzled by Evan's rush. He opened the door and asked his pupil what all this commotion was about. "Can't you just wait until class starts?" he asked, with confusion written all over his face. But Evan didn't want to wait. He arrived early by design because it gave him the chance to show his find to Mr. Oliver in private, without the judgmental eyes of his fellow students. And before Mr. Oliver could say anything, Evan had already placed the plastic container on the teacher's desk. "What have you got there, Evan?" Mr. Oliver asked, curiosity already written on his face. He came closer, watching as Evan carefully opened the lid of the container to reveal the strange, frog-like spawn. Mr. Oliver's expression changed immediately when he saw what his student had brought him. His eyes narrowed, and a raspy sound emanated from his throat as he stepped up to his desk to peer inside. "What is that?" he muttered in amazement. Evan looked up at his teacher and began to explain. Evan explained how he'd found it at the lake near the eastern forest, describing what he'd seen and felt. "Have you ever seen anything like it?" Evan asked. Just as Mr. Oliver finished speaking, the school bell rang sharply through the hallway. Students trickled into the classroom, laughing as they found their seats. Their private moment ended, and Evan felt a pang of disappointment, knowing they wouldn't get to talk more about the discovery yet. "Put it away, keep it secret and safe, and meet me at my ranger cabin in the eastern forest after school. It's just past mile marker 5. You remember where that is, right?" Mr. Oliver said quietly. Evan nodded, his curiosity sharpening. He closed the lid on the container, slid it back into his backpack, and tried to act casual as he moved to his seat. Throughout the long school day, every subject blurred together as he checked the clock again and again. When the final bell rang, Evan rushed out of the classroom and tore down the hallway, bursting through the school doors and sprinting toward the forest. About 20 minutes later, he reached the forest ranger cabin, breathing hard but relieved to see it. Mr. Oliver stood there with a serious expression and motioned him inside. Evan followed him into the small cabin, where shelves of jars and field guides lined the walls. Mr. Oliver placed it on the table, grabbed a magnifying glass and flashlight, and examined the metallic flecked mass. "These aren't any frog eggs I've ever seen," he murmured. Before they could study them further, one of the metallic lumps twitched inside the jelly. Both froze in surprise. Mr. Oliver began jotting notes, and then suggested returning to the lake to compare the sample to the others in the water. Evan agreed, eager and uneasy, and packed the container away again. When they reached the lake, the silence felt heavier than before. Mr. Oliver knelt by the shore, studying the mass in the water. It looked nearly identical to the sample, except the metallic lumps were larger, and there were more of them than Evan remembered. They seemed to be multiplying. Carefully, Mr. Oliver collected water samples and small pieces of the jelly using gloves. Evan searched the muddy shoreline for clues and soon spotted shallow prints far larger than any frog or creature he knew. He called Mr. Oliver over, who took photos and measurements, puzzled by the unfamiliar shape. A sudden ripple disturbed the lake's surface. Evan recognized the movement instantly. A shadow glided beneath the water, heading toward them with increasing speed. Instinctively, they stepped back from the edge as the shape vanished beneath the gelatinous mass again and lingered there, as if waiting. The tension hung in the air. Whatever the creature was, it clearly stayed close to the strange spawn. From a safer spot, they photographed the mass in the water, the prints, and the rippling surface. Mr. Oliver wanted to document everything before disturbing anything further. Evan held the branches aside to get a better look, his eyes constantly drifting to the water's edge where the creature still lingered beneath the surface. As the sun lowered through the trees, he suddenly remembered the time. His mother would expect him home soon, but leaving now when answers felt so close seemed impossible. For the first time in his life, Evan lied to her. He called and said he was eating at a friend's house and wouldn't be home in time. The guilt hit him immediately, but there was no time to dwell on it. The moment the call ended, a loud splash broke the silence. The shadow that had haunted the water finally emerged. The salamander slid out of the lake, its golden eyes fixed on them. Evan and Mr. Oliver stood still, photographing it from a safe distance. The creature was thick-bodied and strong, positioning itself protectively between them and the metallic eggs. Without warning, it raised its head and hissed. Evan stepped back, sensing its distress. "Mr." Oliver hesitated, torn between curiosity and respect. He finally opened the specimen cases, carefully removing the samples. They would rely on their photos and notes instead. Slowly, they returned the spawn to the lake. The salamander watched every movement, but didn't attack. Once the last piece rejoined the mass, the creature stopped hissing. It tilted its head, almost acknowledging their gesture. The tension in the air eased. Evan noticed deep, webbed footprints near the water that matched the tracks they'd seen earlier. He captured more photos while Mr. Oliver measured them, both increasingly aware they were witnessing something extraordinary. For several minutes, they simply observed the salamander guarding its young, half in water and half on land. It seemed intelligent, aware of their presence, and careful with its movements. After taking a final set of photographs, they stepped back. The salamander slipped silently beneath the surface, vanishing into the dark water. The forest fell quiet again as Evan and Mr. Oliver gathered their equipment. Walking back to the cabin, neither spoke at first, still processing what they had seen. Eventually, Mr. Oliver admitted they might have discovered a new species. Evan felt a warm pride, realizing how significant their encounter had been. As dusk settled, they agreed to keep the discovery between them. Protecting the salamander meant protecting its secret. Evan knew he would remember this moment forever, an adventure shared with someone he trusted, and a promise made to the wild world they both cared for.